Okay. Um, this is going to be part 6. I'm going to keep adding parts to this in a kind of stream of consciousness fashion until I have the time, well, the motivation to make this into a condensed video. For now, I'm just basically showing my thought process, and I'm gonna make a much more concise video in the future of these. So in this part number 6, I want to talk about surviving what KGB agent Yuri Bezmenov called ideological subversion. Now, this can be a major threat to your survival, both short and long term. And what Yuri Bezmenov was talking about is framed from the standpoint of someone who thinks that Yuri Bezmenov's leaking of counterintelligence was essentially just a plot to make people Soviet, communist Marxists. And while that is technically true, what he was engaged in is something that any ideology can use against an opposing or deferring ideology that that ideology wants to assimilate. So essentially what ideological subversion is attacking what many people believe to be the deepest core of their being. So you're not attacking the physical, you're not attacking the mental, you're attacking essentially the soul of a person. And if you're going to survive, and I mean truly survive, a deadly survival situation, you have to have the soul come out intact. Otherwise, you're going to get all kinds of problems. You're going to get issues with guilt, with post-traumatic stress. There's psychological terms for this, but essentially what's going to happen is you're going to be struggling with a realization that what you had believed to be true before you went into this situation is no longer true from where you objectively stand after emerging from the situation. So even if you survive physically and mentally, mostly unharmed, harmed or unharmed, regardless, if your soul is shattered by the experience, you really did not survive the experience. And part of surviving both while in the dangerous situation and recovering from it is resisting ideological subversion. Now, ideological subversion is not even necessarily a force of human ingenuity. It is not necessarily even a human psychological or spiritual weapon. Nature itself, the universe itself, can exert a force of ideological subversion on a person who enters into a survival situation, and in that situation they realize that what they thought reality to be is no longer true. This could be as simple as realizing that certain misconceptions about physical laws of the universe, I'm talking laws of physics, were misconceptions. And these can be seemingly minor things that really grow out of proportion because people tend to build more complex and fragile and delicate and particular beliefs around the basics. And if the basics are challenged by a force of nature, then a person can become very unsteady both within and after the situation. What's more important is to essentially be vigilant to this within the situation. Healing from it after, provided that you are not in a state of perpetual survival mode, which is not good for your adrenal glands anyway, which is going to, by the way, that's going to contradict what I'm about to talk about. But for the purpose of the kind of science we're operating under in this age, let's just say it's not good for you. So, when you are in a situation that is threatening to your body, mind, and spirit, what you want to do, the kind of mind state you want to get into spiritually, is not one of, I'm going to pray to God and God's going to save me. It's not one of, I'm going to remember all these scientific things and that's going to save me, that the universe works a certain way. All that stuff is fine to have, but you must treat these things as tools. And just like a tool, like say a knife or a compass, or a canteen, or a firearm, or a piece of clothing, all these things can save your ass, but they can also fail. There's the possibility that they will fail. You must treat your ideology, your spiritual beliefs, your soul as something that is equipped with tools of belief. And you must not take it to heart when your survival situation causes one of these things to not work. Because that tool is still, the essence of it is, it's still a tool. Okay, so regardless of what you believe, I've already said this in previous videos that I'm not making this to support a certain kind of ideology. This is really just for the benefit of anyone and everyone who wants to survive a dangerous situation. Even people who, divorced from this concept, I might personally be opposed to. I'm not going to get in. I'm not even going to touch upon internecine politics in this video. So, what you want to do is you want to, before you get in a situation, a deadly situation, what you want to do is you want to kind of organize a toolkit of your beliefs and say, okay, for example, you're religious, you're a deist, you believe in God, regardless of what kind of religious structure you believe in God under, or what you believe God to be, or gods, or goddess, or so on and so forth. What you want to do is you want to take inventory of what your beliefs can do for you in a survival situation. And you must realize that there will be things that may challenge these beliefs. There's a term in a lot of more developed religions called a crisis of faith. That is the situation that I'm talking about here. A crisis of faith in one's ideology can really, really ruin your day in a survival situation. Everything else might even be going fine for you, but that, it strikes to the essence of the being. So the way to not totally prevent, because there is no totally preventing this survival situations are by their nature risky situations. There's an element of risk. It's not always guaranteed that you're going to make it out without physical, mental, or spiritual damage or annihilation, complete annihilation, down to physical death. So, in order to increase your chances of survival, though, what you want to do is take all of your beliefs and say, okay, this bolsters my confidence, this gives me a sense of community, perhaps. This helps me understand things better. And you want to kind of put down in a organized fashion all your beliefs and put in practical terms how these things can help you, what they bring you. If it's prayer, you can say that prayer brings me peace of mind and fortitude. And so, to go off that example, if you're in a survival situation and you are praying and bad things happen increasingly worse after that, you can say, okay, in this situation, my tool of prayer failed. It did not work. And this is like trying to light a fire with a fire steel. You know, your fire steel is not working. Maybe it's too wet out. Maybe your prayer is, for whatever reason, ineffective for the conditions at hand. If you're, I'll switch to this now. If you're a scientifically minded person and you have a conception of how the universe works, say you have an organic chemistry background and you found a bunch of things that can be used to make something that is useful to your situation. So you do everything right to an exact science, and it doesn't work for whatever reason. There's something that is not working. Now, if you cling to the belief, either say that prayer is going to help or knowledge of your organic chemistry is going to help, and you see this as an absolute, and it goes wrong, like a broken tool in the field would, you're going to have a bad time. So what you want to do is you want to treat it as, okay, this tool failed. This doesn't mean that the tool is useless. The tool itself, a knife is a knife. Now, a particular knife may break, okay, but a knife will always be a knife, whether it's broken or working or dull or sharp and so on. And there are many knives. So if you take that attitude toward your beliefs that they are simply tools, this is going to take a huge amount of potential stress and potential crises off your willpower, and you're going to be able to function if one of these things doesn't work, and you're going to be able to say, okay, that didn't work, let's try another tool in my my spiritual, my ideological structure. Or you might say, okay, maybe it's not time to use these ideological tools. Maybe it's time to just push on and try something different. So the basic concept here, treat your ideology as a set of tools, not as a set of set in stone things, unless that's what the tool is for. If your tool is that you must be absolutely fervent and faithful no matter what happens, and that's how the tool functions in your ideology, then use it that way. But if it's consistently ineffective, you can still use it if that's what your ideology requires, but use something else in addition. Switch to something else. Look for a physical solution to the problem. Don't just don't just pray, or don't just rely on your knowledge of physics or something. Try many things as well. I'm not saying to drop your ideology. I'm saying diversify your approach toward survival. And that's going to end this video. I'm going to try to condense this all soon. Bye.